Hi, I'm Nicola.
And I'm Jay Percy.
And welcome to the Afro Animist Podcast.
We are two animists and spiritual practitioners exploring the secular through the spiritual, discussing life experiences through a sacred lens.
Each week we share our experiences and dive deep into everything in life, from philosophy, metaphysics, obeah, occultism, shamanism, culture, healing, nature, animism,
the arts, pop culture, conspiracies, psychedelics and witchcraft. Nothing is off the table in these discussions, which aim to get to the heart of what it means to be spiritual and Afro-diasporic in an increasingly sterile and authoritarian world.
We keep it real whilst exploring the biggest mysteries of our multiverse. Join us holding this space to laugh, cry, debate, build community and tear down oppressive structures.
Welcome, 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 beautiful, beautiful beings of the multiverse to the Afro Animist Podcast. You are here with me today, Jay Percy.
And me, Nicola Roth. And today we are going to... Oh, sorry, you go. Fuck's sake!
Go from your bit.
I think we should just keep going. Guys, this is the reality of filming, recording on the internet. This is our second go. We're trying to talk about toxic negativity.
Go.
And it's feeling pretty fucking toxic.
Today we're talking about toxic negativity, and this is our second recording because the first recording just messed up. So today we are talking about toxic negativity, and the reason we're talking about this is because we are now in the spiritual community talking more and more about toxic positivity, which is great because I think we can all agree that you can't just live, laugh, love and light your way through life. You can't do that. It's not only like really short-sighted, really like solipsistic, and it isn't good for like personal development or human development. We don't actually talk enough about this idea of toxic negativity. So much so that when you go onto social media, and you can do this right now, go onto Instagram, type in toxic positivity. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do right this moment. So if you go onto toxic positivity and go to tags, you've got like 8.2 thousand posts on toxic positivity. Now, if you type in like toxic negativity, you've got 100 plus posts.
100 plus.
I'm sure that is 100 plus. 100 on toxic negativity versus 82,000 on toxic positivity. Now, if you go onto TikTok, that is going to be amplified because you've got billions of views on things, and toxic positivity is probably going to come up on the millions, and toxic negativity is just not going to show. And it's so important that we talk about this. It's so important that we talk about this because it's also detrimental to the human experience, to personal development. And I don't know, maybe we can get this hashtag started. Maybe we can get it like riled up through this conversation about toxic negativity. What is it?
Yes, what is it?
For us, it would probably be like one of two things. I guess point 1, point 2. It might be point 1 and point 1A or 1B. This constant rumination about negative things, or this like perpetual negative self-talk that just happens like constantly. And I'm not talking about, perhaps you've experienced something traumatic and you can't move past that right now. I'm not talking about things that result from immediate trauma. Or maybe this does result from trauma in the long run, but this idea that you're constantly like putting yourself down. And then point 1B or point 2 because you have this negative self-talk and you keep putting yourself down, you also find ways to project this onto other people. And that is just so detrimental to your health, your mental, your physical health. And it's detrimental to your like wider relationships, because you're always going to be like judging people through your specific framework. And let's get this straight, your framework being the way you view the world, that has come about because you have lived a very specific set of sequences throughout your entire life. No one's lived this exact combination of sequences throughout your life, this specific like algorithm that forms you, right? There are billions of humans on this planet. There are like quadrillion, I don't even know, 20 quadrillion, however many other beings on this planet that all would have had their own individual frameworks. Then when you go into the multiverse, there are going to be more beings yet. And every single one of us, every single corner of this multiverse has lived this like highly individualized experience. So when you go around the world, when you walk through your life, like using this very specific framework to push your negative view on people, it starts to become really, really toxic and can actually prevent your growth in the long run. Nikki, have you got any examples of moments where you've experienced toxic negativity?
Yes. I mean, well, number one, I want to say how well you just explained that. I think it's a very interesting thing, actually, about the fact that we have this massive thing about toxic positivity, but not toxic negativity. Well, I'll go into that in a second. But yes, no, 1,000%, actually. Like, am I going to tell this story again? We just tried to record me. I had a good rant, and then I broke the internet with my rant, basically. But yeah, I do understand. I understand this a lot, like very, very well, because I have a rampant negative self inner voice, like, and it's something that I know I've talked about a lot in here, and I am constantly checking and trying to work on. But she's a little fucking bitch, man. She literally is right in there telling me all the bad stuff.
Does she have a name?
Nasha. Nikki and Nasha. It's because it's Nasha Fair, so I was like, who could I, Nasha, we'll call her Nasha. Nasha, fucking bitch. Yeah. She's really intense. She takes up a lot of space in my brain. And, like, I feel like it's really important to recognize that we all have this, and there are varying degrees, of that negative self-talk. And also, I think that second point that you made is really fucking important about, how this then makes your experience of the outer world. Like, if your inner world is telling you this stuff all the time, if you're having, you're in this cycle of negative self-talk. Yes, I do. I have a very good example yesterday. Like
yesterday.
I've been having a struggle the last couple of months. Like, life has been challenging in many, many, many ways, and I'm getting on with it, but I am like fucking tired, and so then it has been a bit more difficult to like dampen down that negative voice. But yesterday basically what happened is I didn't really want to have to walk my dog. I did have to walk the dog, because if you get a dog, guys, you have to do that every single day. So remember, they're not just for Christmas. So I had to and where I walk around, where I live is quite, it's the middle of the countryside. So most of the dogs that you see here, they're quite big. They're farm dogs, so they're normally quite aggressive, like dog aggressive, so they're all on the lead, quite scary. And so there's just kind of an etiquette that you have in certain places. And yesterday when I was walking the dog, there were this couple with a young puppy, and they were like literally sitting on this hay bale, which was blocking this narrow path gate to get out of the field that I was in. And so I kind of get to them, and I'm like, excuse me, please, we move. And for them, it was like this whole big deal, like, to move. And it really triggered me, because one, I didn't want to be there. So I knew that my experiences on that walk, I was going to struggle to have a positive experience. I was already very aware of it. And as I was walking up to these people and they weren't moving out of the fucking way, I hated them. And I was just like, they're fucking morons. And this is the way I was talking to myself that morning, you know, they're fucking morons. Like, why, how can they not see that they're blocking the only entrance and exit to this path, that there are literally like dogs everywhere trying to get through, and that there's an etiquette, like you have to be careful and learn your dog's behavior. They've got a new fucking puppy, they don't have a fucking like, literally all of this stuff was going through my head. I got to them, I put on my biggest smile and I was like, please will you move out the way? They did, but it, you know, it was an effort for them to do it because they didn't understand. So I'm like, you know, kind of go past, and then once I'm past them, I'm just like effing and blinding, like, oh, these fucking stupid people, da 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 da. And I had to check myself for a minute and be like, okay, number one, they did what you asked them to do. Like, they moved out of the way. Like, you did the simple thing. They were in the way. You said, excuse me, please, will you move? They did it. I have had put on them in that, you know, that 30 seconds walking up to them, like getting angrier and angrier, like this whole thing, like they didn't know about dogs. They weren't aware. They were stupid people. Like, why are they making these decisions? You know, all of these things that actually, they were just people who saw a nice hay bale and they wanted to sit down and have their lunch while they were walking their dog. Like, it's really not a hard thing to understand. Like, I cannot expect those people to understand what my experience is like, what my dog is like, what my experience of walking around there is like. It's mine, it's unique. And it was actually, you know, I was quite proud of myself in the moments directly after it that I was able to kind of have that conversation with myself and just stop hating these random people for no reason. And for me, I feel like that's a really good example because, you know, I feel like we do this a lot. And we do manifest. Do you know what I mean? We manifest these experiences. I could have actually spoken to them and been like, oh, nice little puppy. Oh yeah, this is what it's like. I could have explained to them what it was like there. I could explain to them what my situation was with my dog, or, you know, whatever it is. And I didn't do that. I just judged them in the same way that I was judging myself, you know. So hey ho to self-inquiry.
But, you know, I think it's so important we're talking about these things because we never come on here. If you're a long time listener, then you'll know we never come on here preaching and saying we are holier than thou. Oh
no.
And we're not telling you, oh, we never engage in toxic negativity. We absolutely do. But I think there's a beauty in an awareness of it, where you start to, more and more of these situations, you can like de-escalate yourself more and more. So you do less and less of this sort of like hateful, vitriolic speak, whether it's in your head, whether it's mumbling under your breath, whether it's out loud at these people. Because there's definitely a difference between setting a firm boundary and saying like, listen, this is dangerous, and like ranting and raving at some like absolute stranger just because really you've just had a really horrible day, week, month, and they're like an easy target because you don't know them, and you can just have a go at them. I get irrationally, and I mean irrationally, angry as a Londoner. Can you guess what I'm about to say, Nikki?
Oh, there's so many things that come to mind. I was going to fucking say, right? Yes, the tube.
It's always the tube. Londoners are very, very precious about our tube.
Anger. I know.
Anger. Oh my God. Rage, fucking rage. I get irrationally angry at tourists on the London tube when, you know, you've gotten off your station, you've just been wedged in like a sardine, and then you go to step on that escalator and you realise there's a long queue, so perhaps you just want to march up on the left and take a fast run up that escalator, and then there's a tourist. There's always a fucking tourist. Excuse me, let's rephrase this.
It says stand on the left.
It says there's always a tourist standing on the left, or their bag is just there on the left. Even everyone now, I can feel my whole spine going into like beef mode. You know, like, come on, it's on. We're gonna fight here. And it's I think it's one of the most toxically negative things that Londoners do on a day-to-day basis when they have to get on a train to go somewhere or go to work or whatever. and you're just there, just like growling internally at this tourist. When they're tourists, they may have never been to London before. They may have a different escalator like etiquette wherever they come from. They may come from a place where there are no escalators. And here I am, after having my day, just like building up this like negative self-talk inside towards them. Instead of politely saying, "Excuse me, could you stand on the right, please?" Or "Excuse me, I don't know, it comes across passive aggressive to say in London we stand on the
Excuse me,
right.
can you move out of the
But
fucking way? No, that's not how you say it.
excuse me, do you notice a fucking pattern here? Excuse me, do you notice you're the only person currently standing on this side of the escalator? I'm not illustrating this very well for you guys.
No, because the thing is like, I'm so triggered by you talking about this. Like, I haven't been on a tube for 6 months, babe, and this is why. Like, there are just some places that we just have to learn to survive. We're probably not gonna become better people. I don't know, like, I know, I totally hear you on all that.
Let's hone in on that, because that is fucking, there are places where we just have to learn to survive. Because there are some places that maybe it's going to be difficult to heal around this area. Maybe it's going to be difficult to come to some kind of like sensible resolve around this area. Or perhaps as much as you tell yourself verbally, they're probably just on a nice holiday and not thinking about it. Like, your nervous system is still going to go, "Rah!" And yeah, I think this episode has come as a really good point in time. I've started going to ecstatic dance. I'm really enjoying it, and I recently went to one, and it's a lot of people, right? There are a lot of fucking hippies in that room, just flailing and doing capoeira and headstanding and
Say no more.
dragging themselves across the floor like a seal, like all kind of mad manner of things, honestly. And I don't judge any of it. I talk about it humorously because, in essence, everything human like that is kind of funny. But I was dancing in the room, and there were some people who were just sort of like charging around the room. And as they're sort of like charging around the room, they're not necessarily paying attention to you, right? In the space that you're in. And then you're standing there dancing, having a great time, and then you feel like a bump, and it's like, oh dear Lord. And then you're dancing along, and then perhaps the second bump, you're like, this guy, this motherfucker. I fucking people, man. I can't be dealing with people. And as I'm dancing there, thinking, like, just dancing, and then this thought comes up, and then the feeling comes with it. Like, the thoughts and the feelings are different, right? The feeling you can feel. Well, for me, I can feel it where my liver is. If I'm being very honest with myself, I feel
place of
that's
anger.
where the rage emanates. Yeah, the place of anger.
Yeah.
It's like my liver twinges, and it kind of, it's almost like it.
Do you know
pulsates.
that in traditional Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine, the liver is the holder of anger? So if you've got anger issues, you need to work on. Yeah. Did you not know that?
Okay.
Fucking hell,
No,
you're so in
I mean,
tune,
I
babe.
think
You're so
I've
in tune.
vaguely known this in the background, but no, not so specifically like that. So thank you. Do you know what? As I've been, I guess we're going to go on a tangent. As I've been doing more somatic experiencing, like feeling my feelings in my body where they are feeling, like when I do feel angry, I feel it in my liver.
Okay. That's so deep. Fucking hell.
Yeah. So I'm there dancing, and this whole point of this hippie fest is to get in touch with your feelings. So I do lean into it. And as I do, I'm just there like, wow, you're feeling real rage issues about being around people at the moment. You're perhaps it's the last few years of being quite isolated, and then going out and having to sort of relearn a space. But realistically, you wouldn't be coming to an ecstatic dance with just you in the room. Can you imagine how freaking weird that would be? I pay my money. I turn up to a DJ and a percussionist, and then I just dance in the middle of the room by myself for 2.5 hours. How
Yeah, that
freaking
would be weird.
alienating would that be? It would be weird. It would be
Very
freaking
good point.
weird. I wouldn't do it. If someone told you that's the experience you could have on a Friday night, would you do it?
I mean, I wouldn't go out and do it. I'd just sit in my living room without the in-person DJ.
No, but specifically, someone gives you a ticket. This
No
is a
way.
free ticket. It's like, come to my ecstatic dance. There's a DJ. There's a drum. Who else is coming? Oh, it's just you.
No way, because all those people that I really hate, I also want to hide among. You know, they need to be there. Am I the right person to be recording toxic negativity? I don't know. I don't know.
But yeah, so, and I wouldn't consider myself an introvert. I wouldn't consider myself an extrovert either. I would consider myself ambiverted. Um, I flow with whatever the situation is. If there's a lot of people talking and I feel like getting involved, I will. Sometimes I feel like just listening and just being present. I try not to put myself into either category. Well, I've been working on that because I just feel it works better for me. It just means I get to actually meet interesting people and learn how to avoid the ones that I need to learn how to avoid. um, but in paying attention and giving that awareness to the feelings, to that self talk, I was actually able to push through the odd, however many more people bumped into me that evening by mistake. By mistake, I was able to just, get through the evening, have a dance, and be okay with it, even though in that particular evening, I perhaps wasn't feeling like being around people. I just wanted to dance.
Yeah.
But breaking it down to myself really helped me to enjoy and actually just enjoy the experience.
And do you not feel like even going to something like, obviously, so ecstatic dance is, also seen as a healing modality. It's not just like a rave, although you can just enjoy it like that if you want. Like, do you not think there's something in the nature of the thing that you are doing that also would bring up those feelings of anger and also create a space for you to work through them? But I think that's quite beautiful.
100%. I
Yeah.
feel I am now at a point in my life where I've reached such a post-traumatic growth that I am able to see a lot of experiences that perhaps aren't particularly favorable as some kind of mirror,
Mm-hmm.
or I am able to extract some kind of lesson for it. And I can do
Mm-hmm.
that because I feel like largely I'm in a place of post traumatic growth. I think it's really
Mm-hmm.
unfair to go around telling people that they should extract the, the moral of the story from everything when
100%.
you're not in that state. I think that's just, it's fucking
100%.
cruel, because when you're
I
in that
agree.
place, you can't. Um,
Yeah.
but when you do get to that place, you absolutely can. You can start to go, well, do you know this slightly negative thing, or this thing that negative, this thing that I perceived as uncomfortable or unpleasant, actually, I was able to feel why it was uncomfortable and unpleasant. And from feeling in my body where it was uncomfortable and unpleasant, I was able to transmute that and find the little lesson or the little nugget of joy in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that moment, ecstatic dance, being in that crowd full of loads of people, I was able to extract the little nugget and the little lesson in that. Like, being a part of the crowd um, every so often, and not being central to, not, being a solipsist in that moment, not having the world revolve around my specific set of needs.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay in that moment. It was okay and it's bearable, and I don't need to feel so like happy and giddy about it, but getting to a point of like, okay, this is just a part of the human experience. That's the lesson I got from it, and I was happy to get to that point. I'm happy to get to that point.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's actually genuinely amazing and a really great kind of lesson to pass on to people. Because at the end of the day, this is about your ability to find enjoyment in life and move through life in a good way for you. We're talking about other people and not putting on other people, but that is still really comes back to your own experience, right? These are the thoughts that I have in my head when I'm struggling with these places. Like sometimes my voice is like exhausted. I'm literally there like, Nasha, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Like, because I'm just tired. I'm tired of hearing it. And sometimes in those moments I can be like, wow, it's such a beautiful freedom actually to kind of separate yourself like that. Be like, fuck off. And actually go, I'm gonna try not to think about those things. I know that isn't always the best thing to do, but sometimes with this stuff, it is just a place of letting go of those thought forms, which is so much easier said than done. So don't hate me for saying that. Fucking hate myself for saying it, but it is the truth. Do you know what's crazy about your trance dance experience? Well, one, I was supposed to try and get down, and I wasn't able to get down, and I think that was a good thing for our lives and our criminal records. Because I'll tell you what would have happened, right? We would have been in the trance dance. And okay, I've been to trance dances, but the ones that I've been to have always been blindfolded. And the thing that has been amazing about these is you don't get bumped into. No one can see shit.
Everyone's trying to self-contain.
But it's not only that, obviously, it's like the taking away of a sense. So you have another heightened awareness of the bodies near you. It's amazing. Okay. You do get two people who are charging through there like a fucking train, of course, like, you know, and gonna hit you. But like in general, it was really amazing. But if I was at an ecstatic dance and there were people charging through like choo-choo trains, hitting me, bumping into me, all that kind of shit, this is what it would look like. I'd be there like all like, and then it soon get to this. Hey, yeah.
Why are we like this? You see, I think we're the perfect London people to talk about toxic negativity, right? Because she's a South London girl, I'm an East London girl. All we do is fight.
Which is fight. Like we had to learn. Like, and I'm actually a very good. I'm a very fucking good girl. I'm from Peckham, but you wouldn't necessarily know unless you hear me effing blind sometimes, right? But like there is a way, and this is why I said it about the tube thing, because you know sometimes I question my power in regards to, you know, being on the metal container of death several feet underground with thousands and thousands of other people traveling through this airless, like dirty, dark, nasty space, because that's the truth. Like, and there's a place, there is a place of survival. I'm sorry. Yeah. But there is a place of survival that I feel like if you grow up in certain places, you have to learn. And I'm not saying that's the way you have to continue to be, 1,000%. But there is
beautiful
it's crazy
distinction. You have to learn, but you don't have to continue to be.
Have to be, exactly. And I feel like as a Londoner, especially if you're, you know, ethnic, you're from one of the ends. Like then you're probably going to have had to learn to survive in a certain kind of way. Like there was no way I could have a quiet voice and walk down the street in Peckham or get the train to school or go into I mean, one day some girl just tried to fight me in Safeways, because back in the Safeways there's Morrison's now, but back in the day, like because she didn't want me to stand behind her at the checkout. Like she just didn't want me to be behind her at the checkout. It's like some 20-year-old woman, I'm like 12 years old, she starts fighting me. Like the security guard has to come and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. You know, there were places like where there is an element of survival, and especially, you know, but this is again where your awareness needs to come in. Like I know for me, for example, that I can't handle, I don't want to, I could, but I don't like living in a city. Like I don't like being in that amount of pressure. I don't like being around that amount of energy, because that's what happens when you get on the tube, for example, is you're just in everybody's fucking space. There's not one auric inch of breathing space that you can have. You are fucking twined with everybody, yet everyone's fighting to be in their own world, you know. So I think it's a you know, so for me, I know I need to try and not do those things. For me, I don't want to work on being great at getting on the tube. I know how to do it. I'm a fucking survivor. I can get on the tube, right? I don't feel like I need to work on that place in that way. For me, it's better for me to not live in places where that's my only option. And, you know, learn to balance it out. Yeah. If you see me on the tube, don't talk to me. I'm sorry, guys. Don't talk to me.
If you see me on the tube, feel free to talk to me. But if I've got like giant headphones on, like, please no.
Yeah, please no.
I'm probably listening to some Funkadelic, and that's like my special time to listen to Funkadelic. So maybe please no.
I'm interested. Can send me a playlist, babe.
I can.
Send me a
Yeah, I
playlist.
absolutely can.
Thank you.
But let's get a little deeper on this, because we've talked about sort of like, how we feel about interactions with strangers and the negativity that we feel around that, where we could ruminate, but in fact we've been aware that we shouldn't be ruminating. This toxic negativity of like projecting, where I think it starts to move into areas of sort of like, I want to say jealousy, but I kind of want to see like pseudo jealousy, because it's like a jealousy adjacent, where you'll see someone doing something or doing something particularly well, and then there's that feeling of, well, I must not be doing good enough then. For some reason, I must not be, doing enough, or, maybe it goes into this thought pattern where, I am doing enough, but I'm not recognized, and then no one ever recognizes me, and you move into this spiral of lack of, just, I guess, that lack of, I don't want to say being noticed, but I guess being acknowledged for what you're contributing to the world.
External validation.
Yes, the external validation. Do you think I'm right in sort of saying that's like jealousy adjacent, that sort of negative self-talk around that?
Yeah, because what
isn't
are
like
the
you
things
want
that
what
would
that
lead you
person
into it?
has.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the 10 Commandments. Envy.
Envy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Even with well, I feel like this is going to be a bit controversial. Even with people who perhaps were born into ways where they have all of that and you don't. It's one thing to be able to say, do you know what, there are whole systems that are highly unfair, which allow for this lifestyle and for me to have my lifestyle. I think it's another thing, particularly like honing in on and giving too much energy. That's what it is. It's giving too much energy to the individuals, when ultimately that's not going to break a system. That's not going to change a system. That's only going to make you feel shit in comparison to what they have that you don't.
Our culture is built on this, babes. Like, this is our celebrity
reckon?
culture. 100%.
Yes.
Like, even this conversation right now about Nepo babies, right? There's always been Nepo babies.
Nepo babies. I'm like, go for it.
And if I'm honest, like, I'm an actress. I have struggled with that. I have fucking struggled with that. Going like, as in peers and people who were at school whose parents were already famous, they came out and had amazing careers. I slogged and slogged and slogged and slogged. And there is something in it. I feel like it doesn't really matter what career. I mean, there's some that are more so than others, but you need a door open for you, and whether or not that's the right place, right time, whether you've got the right degree, and therefore usually you've had to make a contact of some kind to progress through your career, especially in the arts, right? You have to have that one client or that, that one job, or whatever it is, and to get seen is so difficult. So then when little Miss So-and-so's daddy is established himself, and his daddy had established himself, and his fucking daddy had established himself, and then she gets that big role, and it isn't necessarily talent based. It's really, I've massively struggled with that. But I also, as an adult woman, have very much decided that when I have my children, I will do whatever I can to support them in this world. I can't argue with somebody saying I'm going to buy my kid a flat when we live in a time when we will work for fucking 30 years and not be able to get that mortgage. If you can give your child a place to live, give them a fucking place to live. Like, cover those bases. Like, if your child has a talent and you have a contact that could potentially mean that they could walk into that a little bit easier and you have belief in them. I'm not saying just give
Yeah.
your kid anything because they want it, but I'm saying for me, if the talent is there, the desire is there, the work ethic is there, the dream is there,
Yeah.
then I would do whatever I could to open doors for my children if I had those contacts.
The reality is that you would want to, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do as a parent, right? And you would hope actually ensure that the next generation does a bit better than
Does a bit
this
better.
generation.
Exactly.
And, you know, if you have the right people and the right direction to send them in, then they will do that. And if you've taught that to your kids, then theoretically they'll teach that to their kids and they'll teach that to their kid. So you do have these ideas of like, I think the Nepo baby conversation is so interesting because I think we can all acknowledge that meritocracy is a complete myth in the society.
Oh yeah.
But perhaps where all of our anger is we're being told this thing and we're being like gaslit into believing this thing, and we know very well it's not a thing. At the same
100%.
time, can you spend too much of your energy ruminating on Nepo babies? And I mean, like, you go on social media, oh, Miley Cyrus, the only reason she's famous is because Billy Ray Cyrus and her godmother's Dolly Parton and blah, blah, blah. You know, these, like, you giving that energy in that moment, like, that's a lot. That's so much. You can
How is that useful for you?
It's not useful for you. It's not. It's
exactly.
you understand how the world works. Great, do that. Don't lie to yourself about how the world works, but don't fucking stay there and build up this ball of energy on that area.
Well,
unless you are able to use that energy to mobilize it into something that is going to be more useful to everyone.
100%, 100%. And this is it. It's like, do you think fucking, what's her face, Miley Cyrus or Kaya fucking Gerber is sitting there going, girl, people are saying that I'm a Nepo baby while I'm hearing my fabulous fucking career. No, they're not. It doesn't matter to them what you fucking think. Like these, and look, that may sound really hard, but that is literally what I've had to tell myself as an artist, like as a performer. They don't care. The only person it's hurting is me. No one's going to know about this apart from me. While I'm sitting here having these awful feelings and hating and going, it's because of this why I can't have it. I'm just creating that life for myself. I'm leaving no space for me to go, well, fucking Miley Cyrus has had a bit of it handed to her on a plate, like, but you know, she's also run with it and done pretty fucking well. You can't deny she's not talented. Okay, let me just look at myself. Where are the places that I feel like I'm lacking? What do I feel like I need to do? You know, how can I enhance my own life? I may not have the daddy who's going to open the door, but it doesn't mean that my desire or talent or hard work or consistency isn't enough to open it for me.
Do you know have it all. You have it all within you. So by shifting your focus back to what you do have instead of what you don't have, you can start to run with these things. And trust me when I say, when you start to put energy on the things that you do have, like other people pick up on that. You know, this cosmos, it picks up on that, and you're able to run and roll with that. And that can create great things in itself. And then you get your own trajectory, you'll get your own path. And you, as a little corner of the multiverse, get to develop further on your own personal frameworks. And that's going to be so satisfying for you. Like 20, 30, 40 years when you look back and go, do you know what? My life wasn't exactly perfect in parts, or it was pretty fucking horrid in parts. Right now, I am happy with who I am right now. And I think the more you can get to that place, the more content you will be. And, you know, the better your health is going to be. Let's be real. The better your health is going to be. So if we can get to those places, surely that's a good thing. Don't know. I feel like there might be, perhaps you feel what we're saying here, does it feel a little solipsistic? Does it feel a little selfish? You know, let us know. Should you be having be putting more energy towards, you know, what other people are doing in that respect, if there is such disproportion in lifestyle? For me, I don't feel that's where my path is. I don't feel that's where my path is. Well, even right now, I don't feel like ruminating on what a Nepo baby has is going to progress me in my life. And yeah, we should absolutely have these conversations and let it be known. But I think there's a way of having these conversations without forming this energy in our liver. That's it.
Exactly that. Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning, obviously, when we looked at the stats of, the hashtags toxic negativity versus toxic positivity.
Yeah.
I was thinking, when there's like, because obviously toxic positivity now is a thing. It's like a thing. It's a fucking buzz phrase. Toxic
Buzzwords. Yeah.
positivity. Like, but toxic negativity, I wonder if people just view negativity full stop as toxic. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So the
Well,
hashtag would be just
so
negativity.
so you don't need to say toxic negativity.
Well,
So
I think there should be a definition, because I don't think. Oh, it's hard. It's actually very difficult to put into words. I don't feel like negativity is always wrong, and therefore I don't feel like it's always toxic. Do you get what I mean? And see,
do you
this
have
is
some
where I find the
examples?
difference. Probably not. It's just more of like an idea, like, like it's the same way like saying, it's not wrong to be sad. It's not wrong to be angry,
Yeah.
actually. All of these things are
No.
markers of our system, where we are, how we feel, how we view the world, like maybe safety nets
Yeah.
in places that we need to change or support ourselves. So sometimes I feel like negative thoughts and feelings can be safety nets or can be warning systems from your body. Do you get what I mean? And that's where
Definitely.
I find there's a
Yeah.
difference. Like toxic negativity to me is negativity that is all encompassing, overwhelming, doesn't allow for any other thought form. Does that make sense?
That's it for me. It's where it's supercharged. It's
Yeah.
where it is so supercharged that it absolutely poses no fucking use. And I was on Instagram before we got on this recording, and
Mm.
I'm not a fan of the Kardashians by any way whatsoever. I think you probably know more about them. You probably enjoy the Kardashians, watching them more than
I
I
know
do.
so much about the Kardashians. It's actually shameful. Anyway.
I'm not a fan whatsoever, but there was like a video of Kim and North, just putting some gel on her hair, and she's dancing around like a kid would. And looking at this comment, the top comment, one of the top comments, this woman's like, "Oh, why is she putting gel on her hair? She's not funny. Why is she, why is she trying to be funny? She's forcing it too hard." And that to me was an example of toxic negativity, because okay, first of all, there's I want to expand this comment beyond just it's just a negative comment.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's a fucking 9-year-old. Second of all, this woman, I wonder in her childhood if she was ever being a goofball 9-year-old, and she had someone say to her, "Stop that! You're not being funny. Shut that down right now. You're not funny."
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lack of introspection on that comment, judging about a 9-year-old. And generally, when you're making these big, lofty comments about children who don't have fully developed brains yet, telling them they're this, they're that, they're bads, they're, whatever it is, whatever you're, I don't know, back in the day, you would hear like parents bitching on the phone to one another about how bad their kids is. Like, what is your introspection like to not be able to understand, like, where did someone treat me like this? Where was I not allowed to be in a particular way? It sort of goes back into this idea of like shadow work. So I'm reading this comment, really not just reading a comment, because I never just read anything. I wish I could just read something and move on with my life. I like to think about what it's like to be in the mindset of this person. Why is she being mean to a 9-year-old? What is wrong with a 9-year-old being a goofball? What is wrong with a 9-year-old putting gel on her hair? What is it about you that you've been told that you shouldn't love, appreciate, or you should completely shut down, that is now making you take time out of your day to go online and use your brain cells to like type in something quite vitriolic about someone you doesn't know you exist? They don't know you exist. You could die tomorrow. It don't matter to them. It don't matter.
I mean, I think this about keyboard warriors all the time, babes. Like, it's such a good point.
I do have to be mindful in my moment, because if I'm sitting there, am I sitting there analyzing because I'm interested in human behavior, which I really am, or am I being judgmental? I've got to make sure that in the moment, I can't be judging people's judgments. And I think judging judgments leads you down just a stupid path. It really does. There's no other word for it. Like,
it's just such a fun thing to do, though. But you are right. We should not judge judgment.
They're being so judgmental.
They're being so judgmental. Like, how fucking dare they? Oh my god.
And then you're sat there judging their judgment instead of wondering. Instead of making it a fun game, right? Like, I wonder what made them so judgmental. I wonder who shut them down. I wonder who hurt them. I wonder what this is about.
I feel like in so many of those comments you can actually really read into that, like, because it is a very interesting thing to, I feel like, to desire to do. And anyway, let's not go into it. Anyway, Nikki's going to say something that'll get her cancelled from the internet. I'll get cancelled.
She's going to tell you how much she loves Kim Kardashian and everyone should leave her alone.
I don't fucking... No. I'm not saying that. No. I have watched every single series of the Kardashians, but while I've watched it, I've judged them.
Including the most recent one?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
You have?
I'm not gonna... I may or may not have subscribed to Disney for a month just to watch the Kardashians.
No.
Oh my god. Am I a fraud?
Do you know what? If it's entertainment for you, I'm not... Listen, okay. So this is another thing. I've worked on apps for some pretty big reality TV shows, which I absolutely do not love. And there's no way in hell that if I was by myself in the middle of the ocean on an island, I would choose to bring this show with me. I would not do that. But what I will say is we are on this planet Earth to experience we're here to experience. And if a part of your experience is subscribing to Disney Plus to watch the Kardashians, like, I'm not... Like, what are we all meant to do? If humans really wanted to be completely stuck in the bush with none of that, like, Babylonian entertainment, that's exactly where we'd be right now.
Yeah.
That's where we never would have progressed to this point. For some reason, the universe wanted to experience this, so it is.
Look, you could drop me in the bush. No, I think it's right. Like, you could drop me in the bush, you could drop me in a desert island, and I would be fucking happy to watch the Kardashians. But when I'm sitting at my house in our normal little world,
yeah,
I watch the Kardashians. Like, no, look, it's just this, right? Okay, this is the reason why. Okay, all right. I feel like reality TV is actually one of the keys in how our current pop culture is developing. Right? God, I sound like I'm not making this shit up. And I feel like there's sometimes a part of me that, like, I do such weird fucking shit. Like, do you know what I mean? I literally go and dance around in the woods and stuff on my own. And sometimes it feels really good to ground with reality TV, because I feel like I'm connecting to what everyone else is doing. And I'm like, okay, so I can go out and I don't just have to talk about how the trees are talking to me. I can talk about, you know, like Kim Kardashian's fucking fake arse or whatever. But no, it is more than that. I just feel like psychologically there's something very interesting in it. I am addicted because I started watching it back in 2000 and whenever they started. So it's just been part of my...
Yeah.
But also I do have like this I have an obsession with seeing how different people live. So I love documentaries, all of that kind of thing. Like, so I have found it very interesting. The reason I watched this last series, I wanted to see the progression of like since series 1. Like, and seeing it is so interesting to me. It's also very interesting to me to see how they've built their businesses. It's also very interesting for me to really fully understand like how they've fucked up like beauty standards. Like there's just so many levels where I feel much more educated by watching it, but also it's really great if you don't want to concentrate on anything because nothing really happens in it. It doesn't take any intellectual like skills. I'm cutting all of this out. I've never watched the Kardashians. I'm never going to watch them. I literally float around with trees all day. That's what I do. Fucking hell, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. No, do you know what? I get it. I get it. I absolutely get it. Yeah, that's nothing more I have to say on that.
Why do you let me rant, though?
I get why people would watch reality TV. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but why do you let me rant on our spiritual podcast about this shit?
Because people need to know that there is balance. You can absolutely go out there and talk to trees, and then you can come back inside to Babylon and be like, back to it. If that's what you want, do you know?
It's having a foot in each world, babes. I'm bridging the gap. I'm helping you understand all aspects. It's actually, I'm doing a service for humanity.
Yeah.
That is what it
Listen,
feels
like I truly believe the universe has experienced the multiverse has experienced itself every single day, and it experiences itself exactly how it wants to experience itself. It wants to feel the various different chemical combinations that run through different bodies, run through different frameworks, and get to this point in this way. And if it didn't want to do it, guess what? It wouldn't be happening. It's kind of a shame, though, that we live in a universe where it doesn't want to experience itself being a human flying.
That is true. Like,
that would
what? There probably is a realm. We just got manifested. We were born into the wrong realm. But yeah, no, I agree with that.
Back to toxic negativity.
I feel like this.
This projecting your problems. This projecting your feelings, or the way people were talking about you negatively, projecting that onto other people. That's where it gets toxic for me, because negativity in itself is toxic. We don't say toxic negativity because we know negativity is not pleasant. We know it's not pleasant, but there is that particular type of ruminatory, I think that's a word, negativity, which I refer to as toxic because it is just ruminating. Then this extends to how you talk about yourself, like, oh, I'm not that pretty, or you know, I'm not that smart, or I'm stupid, or I never do anything right, or I always fuck things up, I always mess things up, I just have, no discipline. Like everything that you could possibly tell yourself that puts you apart from where you feel like, actually in my heart of hearts, I'd love to experience being this type of person. Every time you tell yourself, oh, I'm this or I'm that in a negative way, you reprogram your neural pathways to maintain that story. And we're going to be talking a bit about this. We're going to be doing, I think it's going to be a 7-part series. It might be longer, on the Kybalion. The Kybalion is a book based on Hermetic principles, which probably a lot of words that mean nothing to you right now, but it's supposed to be the principles that make up the universe. So we're going to be doing a whole 7-part series on this, talking about this really old, ancient Egyptian idea of, I guess, how to get what you want out of life. And one of the rules in there talks about this idea that things are in the mind. So if you're constantly in your mind telling yourself what a shit you are, like, you're not gonna be the happy, good person that you want to be, because you're beating up on yourself the whole time. And the universe follows that, and your mind follows that. And you literally expand that experience of you being a downtrodden person, instead of expanding the experience that you could be like a joyful person who's enjoying
Mm.
the human experience.
Yeah. And look, I want to
But yeah,
say
I don't
this,
want to
right?
go into that too
No,
much.
but no, but it isn't easy. It isn't easy. Like, so like, don't make this another thing that's gonna make you go, fuck myself. Do
That's
you know what I
it.
mean?
Like, oh, I'm so shit. All I do is
I'm so
talk
shit, I
about
can't do
myself in a
it.
shit way. Like,
You know,
stop it. Cut it out.
that's it. I mean, and I go through round and round and round and round this. And so I want to say just a couple of things. I think they'll actually be quite similar to our toxic positivity episode, like the
Yeah.
tips and things that we had at the end of that, but like just a couple of things that help move. Because if you are getting stuck in those negative cyclic thought forms of toxic negativity, especially towards your own self, like,
Yeah.
then this is something that, we're sitting going, you can't, you shouldn't think about that. Really, we know that you can't just stop thinking about something. Like, who the fuck does that work
Mm-hmm.
for? We're not just going to say that and you're going to go, oh my God, I never thought about it that way
Oh
before.
God,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna stop that.
I'm enlightened. Mine just stopped. Like, we're not expecting that. It does not happen. It hasn't fucking happened for me. I've been doing this for fucking almost 20 years. Like, there are things you can do. So for me, it's about getting out of your mind, like just getting out of your mind. Like, so I will sit there with my coffee in the morning, I'll be watching the birds, and then all of a sudden the thoughts will start and they like literally sneak up on me like little black tendrils of shit, and they start
Yeah.
putting all these thoughts in me. And by the time I'm finished my coffee, I'm like, oh my God, I've been sitting here for 5 minutes not paying attention to the birds and the sunrise and all the beautiful stuff that's happening, but just going like freaking out about my day and freaking out about what kind of person I am. When I catch those thoughts, what I do is I put that fucking coffee down because that hasn't helped. And then I move my body, drink some water. I said this in the last one, get into the fucking shower, boy. Movement, I feel like, is the
Yeah.
best thing for shaking up these feelings. Because for me personally, my experience of these feelings is that it's like a cage. It traps you, it pushes you down, it makes you feel lower and lower and lower. So for me, it's about just like breaking through that and rising up. Ecstatic dance is fucking brilliant for shit like this, but it doesn't even have to go that far. Like, I know Jay doesn't like doing it on her own, but my living room is great for dancing around. So just put on Spotify,
Well,
put on your
doing it in my
favourite.
living room is fine. It's in a hall with no
Just
one. That would be weird.
drop Jay. That would be weird. It's literally a nightmare. Jay is gonna drop some funkadelic soundtrack in the comments box for this. So whack that on, dance like a crazy fucking person, and change your life.
Yeah.
End of PSA.
Yeah. No, I absolutely. Do you know what? I love that tip. Getting back into your body and out of your mind. Get into your
Mm-hmm.
body and out of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And a good bridging step as well is if you're having this thought, hear the thought. You don't need to like shut it down. Hear the thought. Take a deep breath and feel where that thought lives in your body. Do you feel it in your liver? Do you feel it in your heart? Do you feel it in your lower back? Does your eye twitch? Like, where does that thought like manifest itself? Because if it's running through the neural pathways as a sentence, it's going to have a connection where it comes out the other side in terms of nerve endings. It really is. It really is. Feel where it is in the body and then breathe into that and just tell yourself, do you know what? I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm okay. That's, you know what? That thought can't hurt me. It's just a thought. It's just a thought and it can't hurt me. Um, and then, yeah, get into that movement. Move it. If
Mm-hmm.
it if it is that twitch in your eye, rub your eye. If it is that shoulder, move the shoulder. Like, do something. Like, move the body. Get out of yourself. Because it can be so easy to stay in. I mean, it's easy and it's tough. It's easy because it's probably at some level how you've been wired up until a point. Because when you're born, you know, you hear so many messages throughout your first 7 years that helps to rein you in a little bit, because you know children are free and expressive beings, and we couldn't possibly have that in a world where all of the adults are shut down and not. So you know, you get shut down. You can perhaps get told, going back to the point, oh, you're too goofy. Like, it comes from somewhere. So you would have had that programming, but as you get older and then you hear messages like this, that make you aware that perhaps you've received a bit of dodgy programming, you can unprogram yourself. You absolutely can. And it's not just through hours a day saying the opposite thing of what you've been saying. That's not going to help you. It's actually about feeling the feelings and understanding who first told you the wrong story, and then being really clear on admitting they told me this story, but literally any reality I want can be absolutely true. So does that story that they told me need to be my reality? That's what you're really reminding yourself of, that these stories that you've been told are someone else's reality, and you feel so uncomfortable about it because someone's told you this reality, and your inner child knows that that's not its reality, because your inner child came here free and goofy and loud and joyful. That's how you came here. But things along the way have stopped that. It's about getting back to that point.
Listen to Jay, guys, because she's dropping the wisdoms over here. Like, seriously, it is that 100%. And I feel like somatic work is really is exactly what you need for this, 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like it's also good that you have mentioned about witnessing the thoughts, because, you know, I think that's one of the biggest things. The place where I can do this, as hard as it is that I've practiced meditating. You know, I've practiced witnessing my thoughts rather than being my thoughts, and I've tried
Witnessing.
to begin to understand. Yeah, exactly, witnessing. I've tried to begin to understand the separation. You know, what is I? And these are all things that, again, that like are really helpful. Like, you may not be able to get to a place where you can go, this is where it is, or in my body, or you may not be able to get to a place where after you felt in your body you can move it the first time, and that doesn't matter. What matters is the practice and the consistency, because one thing that human beings need is consistency and discipline in order to evolve. So, you know, one of a really great thing, even before you get to anywhere else, is I do a lot of watching my thoughts, like their moves. So this is one of the techniques that I feel is really, really useful, just for that first kind of stage. So I have a practice where I will sit and I will watch my thoughts like they are a computer, like they're a movie.
Yeah.
So you create the separation, you create a thought. I'm going to explain actually how to do this. So you sit, you breathe, you decide that there's a movie screen, visualize a movie screen in your brain. Now create a thought, any thought, it doesn't matter what it is. And watch that thought play across that movie screen. And then stop the movie right there. Wipe the screen clean. Now create another thought that's completely different, not related to the last thought. Watch that play out. Okay, now stop that thought, scrub the screen clean. Now no more thoughts. And that is very simply just there to begin to give you the experience and understanding that you, one, have complete control of those thoughts, because you could created two different thoughts that were completely different, and you watch them play out. You stop them when you wanted to stop them. You wipe them clean when you wanted to wipe them clean. Right? Simple, 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 simple. Not easy, but simple.
Brilliant. Absolutely. You see, this is why we do journey work. This is why we focus on it so much. That simple exercise, it gives you so much control. And honestly, when you get down to the root of all of your problems, all of your negative self-talk, what it goes back to is that lack of control you would have had over yourself as a child, because someone else was controlling you. They were telling you what to think, telling you what to feel, telling you how to cross your legs, telling you how to stand. It gives you back your control in this space, and it's so important. And I think now's as good a time as any to talk about the course that we're going to be developing, and how you'll be able to get little exercises like this to be able to enrich your human experience, clear the fucking path so you can actually get to a point of receiving and creating what you want to create and receive in your life for yourself. Because as much as you talk shit over yourself, you know it feels bad talking shit over yourself, because there is a version of you that has all of the things that you know deep down you deserve. So yeah, we're developing this course, which will be coming out sometime in the spring, and we're going to be sharing fun little journey exercises like that to help you get to that place of self-control.
Exactly, guys. We're not here just to talk about shit, although we love doing that and we always will. We also want to create some action, and you know, this will be like an amalgamation basically of all of these beginning points that we have been working on for years. So everything that goes in here, we would have done. We would have found a way that it works for us. So keep peeled, eyes peeled, ears opens. And that will be coming to you I'm actually so excited. And then this is also our opportunity to really get out and get to know you guys. So we will be doing some of this in person as well. And as soon as that stuff is, I'm so excited. This year is going to be fucking great. So you guys better keep your eyes on us. Like, seriously, join the fucking crew. Okay. Shall we say goodbye?
I guess we have to. I always feel sad when it comes to the end of an episode and we have to say goodbye, because I think if you were to corner us in a room, you wouldn't have to corner us. Just come up to us, tap us on the shoulder on the train, and we'd miss our stop.
No. Okay. If you see me on the tube, do not talk to me. Like, seriously. For everyone's safety, don't talk to me. If you see me in the street, okay, it's fine. See me by a tree.
Specifically, Londoners are very precious about their tube.
I may be able to do a train. But tube, no fucking way, bro. Anyway, sorry.
No, but for real, you could talk our ear off with all kinds of metaphysical conversations.
Oh my
so yeah,
gosh,
it's a bit sad to say goodbye. But you have been spending this hour with Jay Percy
and Nicola Ruff. And yeah, catch us next week, guys.
See you later. Thank you, beautiful being of the multiverse, for joining us on the Afro Animist Podcast.
If you want to get stuck into the conversation or have a question about anything we speak about here, join our mailing list and find us on our socials.
On TikTok and Instagram, find us at the Afro Animist Podcast.
On Twitter, you can find us at Afro Animist. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, you can also find this talk on YouTube. Just search for us and we will pop up as if by magic.
If you're loving what we're talking about here, share, like, and subscribe. And remember to leave us a thumbs up or 5-star rating on your favourite platform.